Hey everybody, and welcome to my fifth movie review. Hope you enjoyed the last one, The Circle, and this one will be on The Exam. So if you haven't seen The Circle, go and see my review for that one. Very, very good psychological drama film. Slash, I suppose you could call it a horror. It's not really a horror, but people die and stuff. So The Exam is very, very simple to The Circle. It's one of those psychological horror film dramas, and there are 8 people in the room, and the presenter in the room says they've got 80 minutes to answer the question. Just have a look at my notes. And this really intense process to get onto this firm and get the job. So obviously, there's a few rules that the governor, or the man in charge, I suppose you want to call him, has at the start. So there's some rules. Basically, it's not to spoil their papers, otherwise they'll be disqualified. Not to talk to the guard, because there's a guard in the room. Not to talk to the guard, and not to talk to him. Even though he leaves the room afterwards. All of that, not allowed to spoil it. Doesn't say anything about, obviously, you're allowed to talk to each other, you're allowed to move around the room or anything like that. So anyway, he leaves the room, and they sit down, well, they're all sat down anyway, and they just got a blank piece of paper with all their candidate names on. And they're like, oh, well, what's going on? What's the question? Where's the question? Flipping it over. Anyway, one of the candidates starts like, oh, yeah, I'd be really good at this job and everything, and then obviously writing on the paper has spoiled the paper, so she gets disqualified and the guard escorts her out. So they realise they can't write on their papers. However, one bloke stands up and says, right, we've been told not to talk to each other, not to talk to the guard or the bloke, but we can't talk to each other. So they start talking to each other and communicating, and then they realise they can stand up, and then obviously throughout the whole film it just escalates and escalates and escalates on things that, they realise, yes, he's told us what we can't do, but he hasn't said what we can do, so they sort of do that and everything. So obviously throughout the whole movie, you in your mind are trying to figure out what his question is as well, how to figure it out. So they're like smashing lights, trying to get UV light and infrared, that's it, infrared light, UV light. That doesn't work. Then they try sprinklers to try and photocopy it, and that doesn't work. Then they realise the guard has a gun. They get the gun. People start killing each other. There's interrogation scenes. It really does escalate incredibly. It's brilliant. Some of the scenes I thought were far too dramatic. Some bloke gets shot, and then you got this really intense music, and that's not needed. It's not that intense. But and then towards the end, there's only 2 people left. Something happens. I'm not going to spoil it for you. You have to go watch it. And the woman at the end then obviously figures out what the question is. She finds the question, answers it appropriately, and then obviously gets the job. So midway through the film as well, some woman was just taken out of the room by the guard, disqualified basically. She didn't write on her paper, didn't do it. I thought, why is she being disqualified? It was so just random. And I watched it back and I realised that she said, can't you see he's dying? Looking into the camera like that. And that's technically talking to the bloke. So she got disqualified because she spoke to the guy in the camera, so who was watching him, so she was disqualified. So I figured that out. Captive and faced with their imminent executions, 50 strangers are forced to choose the one person among them who deserves to live.